For 60 years, University Technology Mara, or UiTM, has been the place for acquiring knowledge and developing capabilities. From a training center to now a vast network of universities, UiTM has campuses and faculties all over Malaysia. UiTM allows for the pursuing of goals and earning a degree in any field of choice, with a mission to enhance the knowledge and expertise of Bumiputras in all fields of study, through professional programs, research work and community service, while upholding moral values and professional ethics. Nestled amidst the greenery and some of the most scenic areas in the country, each university campus is strategically located in places where their presence inevitably provides an economic boost to the local community. UiTM pledges to provide maximum opportunities to pursue professionally recognized programs of study in science, technology, industry, business, arts and humanities. University Technology Mara offers quality education at all levels of study, from foundation to postgraduate. The university has always been at the forefront in science and technology, as well as in management. It is a place where talent, skills and excellence are nurtured. UiTM has a mission to empower the indigenous people through the provision of higher education in accordance with Article 153 of the Malaysian Federal Constitution and Act 173, University Technology Mara Act 1976. Duli Yang Maha Mulia, Sri Paduka Baginda Yang di-Pertuan Agong is the Chancellor of UiTM by virtue of his status as the King, as provided for by the law. UiTM has established 8 centers of excellence and 1 high COE to enhance the scholastic, creative and innovative capabilities of the university, as well as to facilitate and manage research and development. To complete the teaching and learning activities at UiTM, the university has made available modern and contemporary facilities such as the UiTM Stadium, the house of UiTM FC. With a capacity of 6,000, the stadium is the heart of soccer and it has played host to an international match in 2009. UiTM also has an Olympic-sized swimming pool for the use of students and staff. The pool is also open to public on certain days. Built in 1972, Perpustakaan Tun Abdul Razak, or the Pita Library, has grown by leaps and bounds, housing thousands of international titles for all programs of study. Students' participation in extracurricular activities is highly encouraged and supported by the university. These activities would not only equip students with soft skills, but also train them to be balanced and holistic individuals to meet global requirements. As the largest public university in Malaysia, University Technology Mara has produced thousands of alumni who are successful individuals in their disciplines. They are award winners, innovators, entrepreneurs, and leaders in both the government and private sectors. UiTM honors its alumni by engaging them to establish smart partnerships resulting in strategic alliances. The alumni also gives back in areas such as academic improvements, charity work, and fundraising. University Technology Mara, Usaha Takwa Mulia.
Nordin, representative of Deputy Rector Research and Innovation UiTM Selangor. Yang berbahagia, Associate Professor Technologies Dr. Sharifah Huzaina Said Aris, Dean of Faculty of Education. Yang berusaha, Dr. Muhammad Khairizan Rahmat, Deputy Dean Research and Innovation, Faculty of Education. Yang berusaha, Dr. Zaisi, Deputy Dean Student Affairs, Faculty of Education. Representatives of the Deans of the Faculties, Yang berusaha Associate Professor Dr. Sharina Basri Abdurrahman, Chairman of the Professorial Talk Program. A warm welcome to our distinguished speaker, Yang berbahagia Professor Dr. Faizah Abd Majid, Director of the Department of Academic Development and Management, iCEPS, respected family members and professional friends of Professor Dr. Faizah Abd, UiTM academic and administrative staff. Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning I wish to all. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. Due to the restrictions on the number of participants allowed in the hall, we have made this event a hybrid seminar in order to reach a wider audience and to generate more involvement with the target audience. This is an interactive live broadcast where the live streaming content can be accessed through Webex and the official YouTube channel. Indeed, we are pleased to host and hope that this will be a momentous event to all, especially to our celebrated distinguished speaker. Welcome to Professorial Talk by Yang Berbahagia, Professor Dr. Faizah Abd, with our entitled, I'm a teacher, I'm a thinker, unraveling the art of thinking in teaching. Before we proceed further with the event, I would like to call upon Majid Muhammad Hafiz Abdul from the Faculty of Education to recite the dua.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. O Allah, on this glorious day, in conjunction with this professorial talk, we uphold our hands to pray fervently to thank you for your infinite favors, so we can live in peace and harmony to perform our tasks as your servants. Grant us your blessing to make this event a rousing success. You are the most merciful Lord of all creation. Give us mercy in your presence, guide us to the right conduct. We ask of you knowledge that are beneficial, sustenance which is good, and deeds which are good. O Allah, help us to remember and thank you and to worship you in our best of manners. Forgive us, guide us, give us vigor, and grant us immeasurable sustenance. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله.
Thank you, Sheikh Muhammad Hafiz, for the recitation of dua. Next, allow me to invite Yang Berbahagia Associate Professor Technologies, Dr. Sharifah Ruzaina Said Aris, the Dean of Faculty of Education, to give her welcoming speech.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Yang berbahagia Prof Dr. Azizul Yahya, Ketua Eksekutif Institut Pendidikan Berterusan dan Pengajian Profesional iCEPS. Profesor Dr. Salmiah Kasolang, Rektor UiTM Penang. Yang berbahagia Prof Madya Dr. Badrul Isa sebagai Timbalan Rektor HP UiTM Cawangan Selangor. Yang berusaha Dr. Muhammad Shihabuddin Ahmad Nordin sebagai Wakil Timbalan Rektor Pendidikan dan Inovasi UiTM Cawangan Selangor. Yang berusaha Dr. Muhammad Khairizan Rahmat, Timbalan Dekan Pendidikan dan Jaringan Industri Fakulti Pendidikan. Yang berusaha Dr. Zarizi Abdul Rahman, Timbalan Dekan HCP Pelajar Fakulti Pendidikan. Yang berusaha Profesor Majid Dr. Sherina Basri Abdul Rahman, Pengerusi Program Professor Talk Prof. Dr. Faizah Abdul Majid, Wakil-Wakil Dekan dan yang diraikan Profesor yang berbahagia Profesor Dr. Faizah Abdul Majid selaku Pengarah Jabatan Pembangunan dan Pengurusan Akademi iCEPS, dan yang dihormati ahli keluarga dan rakan-rakan kenalan Prof. Dr. Faizah Abdul Majid, staf-staf akademik dan pentadbiran UiTM dan Fakulti Pendidikan khususnya. Mohon izin untuk saya meneruskan ucapan dalam bahasa Inggeris. Assalamualaikum everyone again. Alhamdulillah. I would like to extend my warm greetings to all of you here at this beautiful hall, Puncak Alam Campus UiTM Selangor, and home or anywhere watching us virtually. All of us here, our honoured guests, And on behalf of the Faculty of Education UiTM, I would like to welcome you. It gives us great pleasure to host this Professorial Talk by our esteemed colleague, Professor Dr. Faizah Abd Majid, who has served the Faculty of Education and UiTM with utmost dedication for 24 years. I believe, among those who are present today are Prof. Dr. Faizah's colleagues from the education fraternity, students, family members, and friends. Thank you for your presence today. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to share a few words with you on this auspicious morning. I am a teacher. I am a thinker. Unraveling the art of thinking in teaching. The title of Prof. Faizah Professorial Talk is interesting as it resonates well with us educators who are constantly thinking of ways to improve ourselves, to have growth mindset through lifelong learning, research collaborations, innovations, and critical and creative thinking practices, each in our own personal and professional capacity to fulfill our roles and obligation, whether in our profession or to serve community or humanity at large. Yeah? So we educators take inspiration from historical scholars and great philosophers. Yeah? For example, Al-Ghazali, 11th century Muslim scholar, what he said was, a teacher thinking about his or her students' education should be like a parent thinking about his or her own child's well-being. In what we can say is that we have to treat our students as part of our children, sons, so daughters. So the teacher is not only a medium of source of knowledge, but it nurture to be a role model, a facilitator, and a counselor. Al-Ghazali also mentioned, that the concern over the teachers thinking about their student is what he referred as intellectual side of teaching, right? And I've read this Simon Borg. Simon Borg is actually a consultant in English language teaching. Right, so I went to his website and wow, he did a lot of writing in this cognition. So based on scenario that I have mentioned just now, Simon Borg called it as a teacher cognition. So it relates, really relates with what Prof. Faizah is going to present today. Now, so we learn from great philosophers who encourage the power of deep thinking. Now, we celebrate and accept Socrates' idea as a scientific method of inquiry about his questioning, thinking, and logic-based teaching style is widely adopted in many lessons today. In fact, we encourage our students to questioning their answers, right? Thinking, the questioning, how we ask them to learn about the technique of questioning and so on. So, and his questioning is being adopted many lessons, like I've mentioned just now. As we reflect on the scholars that I have mentioned just now, we shall also look forward, to what the future behold for us in the face of 21st century in teaching and learning. And I'm sure after more than 1 year of this pandemic that have struck us, we are getting used to teaching and learning. Online distant learning, the new norms of in this pandemic situation, accessibility and innovative instructional practices. More importantly, amidst all this, our concern is for our educators and students' health and well-being, to uphold good moral values and ethics, to be good citizens who can care and think for their fellow human beings. So we need to ask ourselves, how can we translate great thought into practices in the dynamic of our own instructional environment? Jadi, for this, I'm sure you will agree with me. We need great teachers. Great teachers who inspire curiosity, inspire the passion for learning and discovery, to lead the path towards excellence, and to continuously think imaginatively and progress towards new potentials and possibilities. I am positive. Yeah, there is much we can take away from Professor Dr. Faizah's talk this morning, inshallah. Yeah, on teachers, thinking, and cognition. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored, yeah, to host the Professorial Talk today, and I would like to express my gratitude to those who have worked hard for this event. Yeah, the committee led by Associate Professor Dr. Shurina Basri and her team. Yeah, we pray, inshallah, everything goes smoothly with the blessing of Allah. Dear Prof. Faizah, it gives me great pleasure to congratulate you and my very best wishes for your talk today. And I'm certain that your talk will be beneficial to everyone. It will certainly inspire and spark more scholarly discussion on this topic, inshallah, after this. Yeah, I am a teacher, I am a thinker, I'm reveling the art of thinking in teaching, and we are so proud of you. Yeah, with that note, I hope everyone enjoys the session today. And thank you, and wish you all and your family a blessed Ramadan. Thank you.
Thank you, Associate Professor, Technologies, Dr. Sharifah Abd. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce our distinguished speaker today, the faculty has prepared a short montage for Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Faizah Abd Majid to highlight her journey in life and her impressive achievements. Let's watch it together.
Communicator. Faizah is a great role model for our lecturers and students, and I would like to encapsulate her achievements by quoting a poem by Walt Whitman. I am the teacher of athletes. He that by me spreads a wider breast than my own proves the width of my own. He most honors my style, who learns under it to destroy the teacher. The quotation is from Song of Myself by Walt Whitman, and it really encapsulates what Dr. Faizah has accomplished thus far. We as teachers, we are very, very proud when our own students surpass us in their achievements. And Dr. Faizah has proven that. Before I end, I would like to say congratulations again to Dr. Faizah for professorial lecture, and congratulations to Dr. Sharifa and the committee members of the event for holding this illustrious event.
The supervisor, Professor Dr. Faizah, is very strict. Sorry, doctor, but not in a negative way. She is persistent and focused in her job commitment. These characters have actually taught me how well we can perform if we are disciplined at the team. And underneath that serious armor, she is actually very friendly and she is very kind-hearted.
This is Majid to greater heights and become one of the best professors in the world. All the best to you, Prof.
Hijab, you know I love you and I have deep respect for you. Not because we are BFFs, but because of what you are as a person. This strong and beautiful person inside and out. Seeing how you have developed your personal life, your career, and most of all, how you positively impacted the people around you, especially loved ones, with your love and your compassion. That has truly inspired me. You have obviously come a long way, my friend, and I am so proud of you.
My sister has always shown example of excellence in academic achievement as well as in giving back. We, UiTM, working teams, students, and the society in general. Inshallah, we pray for your continuous health, happiness, and focus in contributing in the academic field. Good luck in your professorial lecture and keep on shining bright.
I'm glad that you're my mom because I don't think anyone can be a better mom than you are for me, which I thank Allah for that. But anyways, that's all. And I love you, mommy. I love you 3000. Bye.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. Today I want to share my thoughts on my better half, Professor Faizah Abd Majid. We have been together for more than half of our age. She is a very positive and work very hard about her academics works, including research, writing, publication, and mentoring young lecturers. She has a very strong determination and will work hard to achieve what she wants. She is a very kind-hearted person and very caring about others, especially family members and siblings.
Ini adalah gambar mak kami yang pada ketika ini sudah pun berusia 93 tahun dan agak uzur keadaannya. Namun saya percaya kalau mak masih sihat dan dapat berkata-kata, sudah tentu beliau ingin mengucapkan tahniah Faizah. Mak bersyukur dengan kejayaan anak mak.
A truly wonderful montage with a beautiful ending indeed, paying tribute to a mother whose unconditional love transcends everything else. Just for everyone's information, this is the first time that Prof herself is seeing this montage, and we hope she is happy with our small-scale production. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Dr. Shrina Basri Abdurrahman to read a short biodata of our celebrated speaker, Professor Dr. Faizah Abdul Majid. Please welcome Dr. Shrina.
Little bit difficult now, the video, or me even. So I cannot imagine Prof. Faizah. Anyway, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm humbled to be standing here this morning to share the biodata of my dear friend, Professor Dr. Faizah Abdul Majid, on this special day of her professorial talk. Prof. Faizah was my senior in the TESA program back in the late 80s, right? I think Prof. You can attest to that. But in all honesty, our paths did not cross much when we were studying in PPP ITM or UKM for that matter. Yeah, and I'm sure Prof. Faizah will agree. Yeah, which is like senior, and I'm just small fish down there. So I know her, but we didn't. Friendship didn't start to bloom yet, right? Okay. This long-time friendship of ours actually started when we both received the TPM scholarship to do our masters in the UK in 1996. And coincidentally, out of all the universities, we applied and got accepted to the same place, yeah, which is University of Reading. So match made in heaven, I suppose, yeah. Where she was attached to CALS, Center of Applied Language and Linguistics, and myself with the Faculty of Education in the University of Reading. And that marked the beginning of our tidur sebantal and makan sepinggan adventure. So 1996, 1997 was when it all started, right? Okay. Now, from the very beginning, when we first reported for duty, I always knew that Prof. Faizah is going to make it big one day. That's her, right? Came back same day, but I knew she is going to be a bright, shining star, right? Okay. And I'm truly happy for all that she has achieved over these years, and I'm sure she knows this. Being the positive person that she is, she has always played the role of a big sister to me, especially in her words of motivation, telling me that I can do much more. Yeah, she always tells me that I'm still trying, Prof. I'm a bit slow, very slow in catching up with things. Always seeing the goodness in everything, right? Not to say that I'm a negative person, but she's a much more positive person than I am. So she's always advising me to see the good in things, right? So I'm still learning at it, but above everything else, my deepest respect for her is seeing how she juggles her responsibility as not only an academician, a wife, a mother, but especially a devoted and caring daughter to an ailing mother. This is the Prof. Faizah that I know. Right? Please allow me to continue with the illustrious academic career of Prof. Dr. Faizah Abdul Majid. So I'm reading it from her biodata now. And I need to put on my specs, yeah, because I can't see. Yep. So currently, Prof serves as the Director of the Academic Development and Management at the Institute of Continuing Education and Professional Studies, iCEPS. She has received both international and national grants and published in various index journals and chapters, all within the areas of adult and higher education, TESOL, and professional development. Faizah is a master trainer in the Malaysian Higher Education Leadership Academy, ACAP, in which she develops modules and facilitates the professional growth of fellow academics across the nation. In terms of networking, Faizah has been appointed as an academic assessor by both international and national ministries and higher education institutions. She has also been invited as keynote speakers in several international conferences and of late series of webinars. Based on her involvement and achievements in the field of education, she was awarded the Distinguished Scientist in Adult Education by Venus International Foundation based in India in 2019. And I would like to end the bit on her biodata with this quote. Life as a teacher begins the day you realize that you are always a learner, right? By Robert John Meehan. And I think that is the core value that my friend has always believed in, right? Before I take my leave, Prof, I have a special message from a special someone in this short video. Let's take a listen.
It's Diva. Just wanted to say congratulations and all the best for your professor. Professorial Talk. Just get enough sleep, breathe, and you'll be fine. Otherwise, if you can't win them, just show them one of your traditional Malay dance moves. You'll be great. You got this.
Right, so that's Adibano for you, her batchmate, right? Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us put our hands together and welcome on stage my friend, Professor Dr. Faizah Abd Majid.
This. Thank you, Dr. Sharina, for what you just delivered. And everything that came out was actually a total surprise. Thank you, Madam MC, Sharina, for this beautiful introduction to the session. I don't know where to begin, actually. I have rehearsed this over and over again, and I've actually pictured this many times since the last few weeks. But Prof. Bib, you trained as well as a TESOL student. We did a lot of oral presentation. But I tell you, nothing would have prepared us for this moment. It's a moment filled with a lot of emotion, which is indescribable. But I thank God the Almighty for giving me the strength, great health, to be able to be with all of you today. Okay, inshallah, let's just begin. I take this opportunity to thank you, my immediate boss, Prof. Azizo. Please a big round of applause for him. In his busy schedule, to still be able to come and join us this morning. In particular, I would assume this is him showing me his respect for what I'm doing. I say, Prof, from the very bottom. My first boss, Prof. Bib. You're not just my first boss, but you're also my first TESOL guru. And of course, sitting next to Prof. Azizo, my dean, technologist doctor, associate professor, Dr. Sharifah Ruzaina, whom everyone calls as Dr. Na. I call her as Dr. Sherry, just to give a fling to it. Associate Professor Dr. Badrul, my ex-student, how proud I am that you are now the Timbalan Rector of UCS. The representative of Professor Guy, Dr. Shihabuddin, thank you for your time. My sister, my friend, I think we go far than just being a friend, Dr. Sharina Basri, thank you for everything that you've done. I know this takes many man hours to put everything into such cohesion and to come with such a beautiful ceremony. I must also thank my family, my darling Habibi, my love, Mr. Muhammad Sabran. And I know all the way from Utsunomiya, my darling Danny boy is also watching this. You know how I love you, Daniel. My heartthrob, Danish Lukman. Thank you, son, for being here for mom. My little sunshine, my sweetheart, Diana Alisha. My brother, Abang Rashid, whom I call as Banci. All along, he has always been that pillar behind my strength actually, because we grew up together with actually an ailing father. Our father passed away at a very early age of my career life. He passed away in 1993, and ever since that, I've only had my brother to depend on for guidance. That was way before I got married to my better half. And actually, for your information, the idea of me landing in UiTM began with my discussion with ownership. I needed to leave the school because we were trained to become school teachers. We were appointed by Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia. But at that point of time, I just knew I need to do more than just teaching the school children Isra and Waswa and how to write and how to read and how to talk. I needed to teach fellow teachers. And discussion with my chief led me to taking up TPM with ITM. And of course, sitting next to Abang Rashid is my lovely sister-in-law, Madam Rosali Yusuf. Thank you, Lily, for being here with me. Thank you. And I can't but just be thankful for Prof. Salamin Kasolang, the rector of UiTM Penang, who's actually one of my best friends forever, also in UiTM, my Jannah friend, inshallah. Thank you, Prof, for your time. I know you're a busy lady, UiTM Penang to run, but you have your time for me. Thank you, alhamdulillah. I also see the deputy rectors here. I see Dr. Zach. I see Dr. Kai. Thank you for your time. And also I see Professor Paramjit. I see you there. Thank you for your time, Prof. And also I must mention this, my colleagues from iCEPS. MashaAllah. Thank you for your time. All the way from the main campus, I see Ustaz Zawawi, the director of PJJ, Jabatan Pendidikan Jarak Jauh. I see Dr. Numan Nurbani, the director of the TNE, Transnational Education. I see Dr. Anna, the Ketua ICT, and if you are wondering who's the mind behind your future, she's the one. I also see Dr. Hamida, not only that she is the Ketua Appel in iCEPS, but she was also my student, your PhD you did with us, and it's like with me, alhamdulillah. And of course, I must mention this, my best friends forever from my teenage life. Madam Zaitun Yusuf, you're sitting up there, I see you, alhamdulillah. And I see in front of her, oh my goodness, it's Dr. Ismi Roha. Thank you for your time. Such a busy lady from my CAPT, and here you are, alhamdulillah, thank you so much. I can't begin to say thank you to all of you actually. And of course, I must take these few minutes, I hope you bear with me, I need to mention these names because I know without them, I don't think this is ever possible. I can't even imagine where to begin saying thank you to all these beautiful souls that we have here. Associate Professor Dr. Shrina Basri as the chairperson for this event organizer. Technologist Dr. Zuraida, I know you're sitting somewhere, Madam Zulfa, Madam Mazrin, Dr. Marina, another TESOL sister of mine, Puan Amira, Puan Mariani, Puan Raiha, Puan Zuraini, Dr. Ani Mazlina, Dr. Ilya, Dr. Azza, Technologist Dr. Ruslaili, Dr. Cik Fazli, Cik Rahman, Cik Hafizan, Cik Nazri, my younger brother, Cik Adi, Cik Akmal, Puan Farhani, Dr. Sharifah Muslia, I know you're sitting somewhere there, Sharifah Muslia, Puan Nurul Aisyah, Datin, Dr. Nazira, beautiful greeting that you gave me this morning, Associate Professor Dr. Karti, Cik Hafiz, thank you for the beautiful doa, and also Madam Sharina, our MC. I told myself I must mention these names because they deserve the recognition. Ladies and gentlemen, can we put our hands together? Big round of applause for the beautiful souls that we have in Faculty of Education. Alhamdulillah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, actually, Dr. Sherry, upon listening to your beautiful introduction speech, I said, okay, I rest my case, I can sit down because she has actually delivered my professorial lecture in a way. Thank you, Dr. Sherry, you've actually provided, recall that the head start to my title today. I'm a teacher, I'm a thinker, unraveling the art of thinking and teaching. Before I begin, I was informed to stay put here for the benefits of Webex. But for those who actually know me, you know that I like to walk up and down. In fact, I would actually climb up the steps. But then since for Webex, I've been asked to stay put. So please bear with me. Oh, suddenly, I'm so sorry. I saw also Associate Professor Dr. Johan. I didn't see you earlier. Sorry, Dr. Johan. I see you there. And I also see Dr. Mawarni and my friend from UPM, MashaAllah, Professor Dr. Ismi. Thank you. Ni orang kuat UPM is also here. I don't know what I have done. I don't know what I have, that God has given me this blessing that this morning I am surrounded by by my colleagues and my friends from my childhood and up to my tussle fraternity, my first guru and my immediate boss, all put together under one roof in one room. Alhamdulillah, I would like to begin with that note. Alhamdulillah, and for that I will forever be grateful. Okay, let's begin with what I have been promising all of you. I'm a teacher, I'm a thinker, I'm reveling the art of thinking and teaching. I want to ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen. Who here would proudly, oh sorry, Dr. Annie and Dr. Min, mashallah, mashallah. My friend from UIA, ya Allah, Assistant Professor Dr. Ainul Azmin, and the Director of CELPED, Dr. Rosnani Kasim, because people are wearing masks, you don't really see them, right? So you just like, Alhamdulillah, thank you sisters. These are my castle sisters, thank you for being here, Alhamdulillah. Okay, back to my topic now. Start. It's like, I've got so many people to thank. I think I'm going to take 1 hour to say thank you to everybody, but you know how I feel, you know what I actually, you know, it's speechless. I'm kind of speechless at the moment. Fighting stage fright and at the same time with this emotional turbulence, you know, and with that video montage that Sharina pulled out. Exactly, that was my first time watching it. It's really, really touching. You actually tested me to still stay professional up here, Dr. Sharina Basri. But anyway, thank you. It was very beautiful. My first question to all of you. Who can confidently raise his or her hand saying that I'm a teacher? Alhamdulillah. Not all. Maybe a lesson, huh? I'm a thinker teacher. Alhamdulillah. Thank you. So let's just unravel the art of thinking in teaching and sit there, relax, enjoy the ride, and really start pondering, reflecting on yourself. Are you really the teacher you claim you are? Are you really the thinker teacher you claim you are? Only you know the answer, you don't have to tell me. Okay, moving on. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I have prepared, and I hope you would enjoy this talk as much as I've enjoyed preparing it and planning for it. There are 6 main items that I would like to present to all of you. Number 1 is, as what you can see, the what, why, and how. And obviously, I'll be talking about teaching, educating, learning. And then we're going to go into the realm of thinking, but very, very briefly, because the idea is to actually relate what thinking is, positioning thinking in teaching. And at this point of time, I have 2 formulas actually at the end of my session. I hope when we go back, we could share with our colleagues, with our friends, even with our family members, the art of thinking when we claim that we are a teacher. And that brings me to the thinker teachers and dialogic pedagogy. Some takeaways for the thinker teacher wannabes, and of course the 2 formulas which I plan to share with all of you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, earlier on, our dean mentioned about Simon Bock. Dr. Simon Bock, if you recall, those days when I was the head of department for the postgraduate, he was actually in our faculty. He was our external examiner. So for those who were with me during that time, Simon Bock actually came to the faculty together with Frank Hartman. And we were very, very lucky to have both of them. And to know that Simon Bock is one of the big names in TESOL made me feel that we did the right thing back then, alhamdulillah. Okay, moving on. Let's all begin on the same page of understanding the what, the why, and the how. Ladies and gentlemen, my talk is all about thinking, and what more can I do if I don't lead you into this beautiful journey of thinking as you listen to me. Sitting there, enjoying the ride, I like you to constantly have this, intra-personal discussion with yourself. Ask these questions and try to find the answers if you could. Let's begin with this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you have heard of this many, many times. Yeah? Cogito ergo sum. It's actually Latin, translated from French. Originally it was French, but René Descartes thought for better audience, translated into Greek would actually reach a bigger audience. Cogito ergo sum, which in English means, I think, therefore I am. In 1637, René Descartes came up with a book entitled Discourse on Method, in which he described the empirical scientific reasoning of existence. And indeed, he actually spoke about God to begin with. And he wanted to question about the existence of God. And he actually believes God. He believed in God. And he knew God existed because he exists. And that brought to light what we were actually talking about. You are because you think. I think, therefore I am. And interestingly, let me bring you to some relevant verses, surahs and verses in the Quran and in Islam. Islam puts responsibility on every individual to personally question, analyze, and clarify. Islam also describes unquestioning minds as polluted, ladies and gentlemen. And Islam also describes unreasoning folks as subhumans. Sinful are we, should we live thinking as a second activity, not a main activity. That brought light to what I wanted to dwell in my professorial lecture. Indeed, I have actually thought about the professorial lecture way before when I entered the university for the very first time in 1997 when I first met Prof. B again in her room in section 17, reporting for duty on the 12th of November 1997. Dr. Sharina, you came a week later. I'm 5 days senior. So before Prof. B, she asked me this question. I remember that. You said, Faizah, congratulations, you've completed your master's and here you are. You're a TESOL student, right? You were with me last time. Yes, you know Dr. B. That is the tidbit we knew, right? My friends from TESOL 1, you guys are sitting there. So staring with her round eyes, she said, okay, what are you going to do in the TESOL program? You were here once as a student, now you are here as a lecturer. So Prof. B, you asked me a beautiful question that day and made me revel on the idea that, yes, I was a student here. I went through life as a student. I did TESOL here. You were my first TESOL guru. But now I'm sitting at the other side of the desk. That is actually a phrase I learned from her. You are now on the other side of the desk. What are you going to do? So Alhamdulillah, Prof. B, with all due respect, it began with you actually. I don't know where would I be had you not asked me that question. So come on, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to think. Let's begin with this question so that we are truly clear. Yeah? What is teaching? What do we mean when we say we teach? Sitting before me amongst you, except for my beautiful friend over there, Madam Zaito, who's actually an accountant, all of us here are teachers by virtue of us teaching whatever our content expert in the university. Whatever university we come from, it could be UPM, Prof. It's me, it could be UiA, Dr. I know as well as Dr. Min as well as Dr. Annie. It could be a CAPT in leadership, right? That's me. Also my fellow colleagues from iCEPS. We're all teachers, we're all teachers. Allow me to use the word teachers, though I actually meant lecturers, instructors, be it, because the noble word that actually describes what we do is teacher. So let's begin with this question. What are those words jumping around your mind at the moment? I challenge you. You're also a teacher in a way to your children, a teacher to your colleagues at work. You know, not just you wear the robe as an academic that you are actually known as a teacher, but when you are a mentor or a coach at work, you're also a teacher. But what do you really mean when you say you teach? What are those words jumping around? And of course, one of our educationist, yeah, Jeremy Brunner. For those who did education, the name Brunner is nothing new. To Brunner, he said, it's not a matter of getting him here is a student, to commit results to mind. Rather, it is to teach him to participate in a process that makes possible the establishment of knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, the word that I like to draw your attention to is participate. We teach a subject not to produce little living libraries on that subject, but rather to get a student to think mathematically, Prof. Paranjit, for himself, to consider matters as an historian does, to take part in the process of knowledge getting. Knowledge is indeed a process, not a product. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you would agree with me when we say learning has taken place. There are changes in 3 domains: cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain. And I like to think and relate that with what Bruna said. Cognitive, that mathematical thinking from Paranjit. Your professor lecture was truly on such a beautiful notion. Affective domain, how they consider like what an historian would do. Affective domain, when you value, you appreciate, you critique, but from the positive perspective. And taking part, psychomotor. So I think Bruner's quotation here is beautifully describing what we've been trained about what is learning. Learning is only changes happen in these three domains. Now that we are clearer with what teaching is, then come this question, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Why do you teach? And of course, being a Muslim, my mom, my dad, my brothers and sisters had trained us about niyat, or niyah in Arabic. And this is from Muslim. Beautifully, it stated, verily, Allah doesn't look to your faces and your wealth, but He looks to your heart and your deeds. Now, ladies and gentlemen, why do we teach? Prof asked me that question on that day I reported for duty. When I was a teacher assigned to Sekolah Tun Fatimah Way in 1993, my pengetua, Puan Murni Karto, also congratulated me for graduating, and here I am in one of the prestigious schools, a boarding school. But what are you going to do, 23-year-old girl, training somebody who's just a couple of years younger than you? Questioning, why do we teach? Let me share with you, ladies and gentlemen, I have the privilege of sitting in some interview sessions for the young new lecturers. And when Prof Ismir, when you were at ILCAM, you like to invite me to give talks to young lecturers that we have before they get to be permanent. They had to go through what we call the Kursus Asas Pengajian, and I'm one of the regular speakers. And I spoke on reflective teaching, and I like to ask questions, and I go up and down the staircase, and I talk in between the audience, and I pass the mics to them so that they would be able to also participate. And one of those questions that I asked them is that, why are you here? Why do you want to work with UiTM? Why do you want to teach? There are many things that you can do, but you want to be here. Also, the same questions I asked to the new lecturers who I interviewed with a panel of interviewers. I'm very happy with their answers, proud even. But I can't deny there are questions that make me cringe. Things like, oh, it's easy, I can go back at 3 o'clock to fetch my children at school. I heard that in the very hall in UiTM when I gave the talk for KAP. I think I mentioned that to Dr. Ismi. And in the interview, it was just last week, I interviewed, it was via online. She just got back from Japan. She's still quarantined in Holiday Inn Hotel somewhere with a PhD in mechanical engineering, registered with the Board of Engineers Malaysia, and also had a technologist and professional recognition. But she wanted to teach Japanese language just because she studied in Japan. And I asked her this question, why are you asking to teach Japanese language? You are a professional engineer registered with MBOD and also the Board of Engineers Malaysia. And you have a PhD and you did a postdoc and you're coming back from your postdoc. Prof Samyang, we're talking about engineers here wanting to teach Japanese, okay? And you know what she said at the end, when I allowed her to, do you have any questions to ask us? She asked me this question because I was a chairperson at that point of time. Prof, if I get this job, can I be sent to Aram? Because my husband got a job in Aram. My heart just sank. I literally, at the first point, I already said that, we need a lot to think about, to consider whether we want to accept. I'm not revealing the results. You don't know whether we take her in or we take her out. But the response she gave really turned me, because I'm a teacher educator, and I've always had this passion for teaching, and there's a reason why I'm here teaching, and I know there's a reason why you are here teaching. But if the reasons are because of things like that, I think we are in trouble. Yeah, so that is why the niyah, yeah? Allah looks not at your wealth, not look at your face, but look at your heart and the deeds. Why you want to be a teacher? Why you want to teach of all the jobs we do have? And of course, one of the famous person in that beautiful soul that we have in the education realm is none other than Syed Muhammad Nakib Al-Atas. UiA people, you might be happy. Syed Nakib said this: to know how to put what knowledge in which place is wisdom, in bracket hikmah. Otherwise, knowledge without order and seeking it without discipline does lead to confusion and hence to injustice to one's self. When you are injustice to yourself, can you imagine the injustice you do to your students? That 20, 25 pair of eyeballs rolling up and down you when you are in the class, leading the discussion, leading their learning journey, anticipating questions that make their mind work. But if the wisdom is not put at the right place because of your niyyah, go backtrack the niyyah, and what you think teaching is, the what, then it could bring us to the how later. Then we have this question. Ladies and gentlemen, sitting there enjoying this conducive environment in this beautiful DK500, how do you teach? We thought of the what, we thought of the why. Now let's think about how. Stereotypical, semester in, semester out, same. PowerPoint, the last 5 years PowerPoint, still the same. Templated, you actually have a script to say, and you follow strictly to the script. So suddenly your students say something else, you ignore because it's not within your script context. Wallahu alam. Same O, same O. Something for us to ponder on, yeah? Again, you claim you're a teacher. Again, and over again, you claim you're a thinker teacher. Think your why and your how. At this point of my presentation, I like to bring you to BICS model 1999. I'm sure you are familiar with BICS. You've attended, if you are not from the education faculty, you would have attended many, many talks on higher education and teaching and learning in higher education. BICS is a famous name. It goes without introduction. And he has this very famous model 3P. Interestingly, I also have a model 3P, which I'm going to show later. But it was not a total replication of BICS. It's actually from the bottom of my heart and what I've observed, but I'm going to keep that for later. BICS talk about the 3P model where he has this research, process, and product. If you can see on the screen, I'm going to make it very, very simple so that any layman would understand this. Research is about motive and the external factors that could influence the motive of our students, and also us, the teachers, the motive, what interests us, what triggers us. And process is actually the thinking, whether it is surface or deep thinking. And it all depends on actually how we facilitate our students' thinking as they learn. And product is actually the outcome, what we imagine our students to be. And I'm glad just now somebody mentioned about that very idea of an effective teacher is actually to produce students who surpass them as a mentor. And I like to take Marco Polo. I remember in one of my talks at KEP, reflective teaching was one of my favorite topics to deliberate on. I like to quote Marco Polo. And you know where I got this quotation actually from? It was in 2008, D, remember we were in Hong Kong at the airport, Starbucks had that green board with a chalk written, Marco Polo actually said this, poor is a teacher whose students do not surpass him. Marco Polo, you can Google it. And when I saw that as I was driving the luggage, we were about checking in, and I saw that and said, MashaAllah, I'm learning here, this is interesting. Marco Polo said that. Yes, poor are you as a teacher if your students do not surpass you, ladies and gentlemen. So the product in BICS 3P model is actually talking about who are you producing? People who are creators, people who are innovators. Shouldn't be those who repeat what you said, parents, taking over your place, repeating, reproducing. We should not. We should not. Then we are injustice, not just to us, but to our students. And the very nature of learning, ladies and gentlemen, is only fair for me to explain in layman's terms. What do we understand about learning? Very, very simply, is take several books to actually understand learning, but very, very simply, it goes with these three things. Input, whatever the students, or in our case, in your case, sitting there listening to me, whatever that you are observing, listening to, and in some instances, when you go to studio or the kitchen or gymnasium, you might have touching, tasting, that's the input. in this instance, is teacher talk, the materials, the tasks and the learning materials. And Bloom's taxonomy talk about the ability to do something and what we need to give to our students, the input. Intake is process information. Sorry, information processing. How does the brain, the cognition, and this is what Simon Bob mentioned about cognition just now. How does the brain absorb and make sense of that input? The idea of assimilation, the idea of schemata, applying knowledge. And then we do have FI and FD, field independent and field dependent students. You can't help it. They can't help it. They were born with such DNA. God had made them a FI person. God had made them an FD person. But what we can do to assist them is the strategies, training the strategies. We also have the right brain and left brain dominated students. Even us, we could be right or left brain dominated. We can't help it. It's our preference. But what we can do to learn and to train are the strategies. So the intake is much dependent on what we do with them when we engage with the students. And output is actually what the students were able to make use out of the new skill or the new information that they gather from us. And this is when I differentiate, like what Pix mentioned just now, surface of deep learning, and then in terms of skills, we talk about, is it proficient, is it competent, and of course, I must bring Solo. Familiar with Solo? Not Han Solo from Star Wars. Who could guess what Solo that I'm referring to here? I have a book to give away. It's a book which we wrote together, me, Annie, the 21st Century Toolkits for teaching 21st century skills. I have that book to give away. Unfortunately, I have it with my daughter. She will help us. Can anybody guess what Solo is? Yes, indeed, Prof. Correct. But in full, what is Solo? Never mind, that's why you are here. Structured, observable learning. What is it? Or before I go there, suspense, keeping you guys suspense. Structured, observable learning outcome. That's what Solo. But it's related to Bloom's taxonomy. There's a connection between these two. Okay, remember earlier on I said that it's not just based with the 3P model. Faizah also has a 3P model, and this started in 2005. And when I had that opportunity, thank you, Dr. Ismi, Prof. Ismi, you were the one who actually invited me to ILCAM, and then at that point of time, ILCAM to deliberate on reflective teaching. And then I realized of this 3P, not like base, some which different because I'm more to the ground where we're talking about what do teachers actually do. So here we talk about teacher present, there's the input, students practice, that's the process if it is at base, and then students produce. And if you want to look at that illustration of the figure that I have there, teacher input is external stimuli. And then the students' practice is actually they are thinking and they are doing and they are applying. So we've got that. Student intake, information processing, fully guided to total independence. And students produce, we have all that self-appraisal, peer feedback, and teacher feedback. And for this very beautiful day, ladies and gentlemen, I plan to share with you two models that were derived from the thoughts that I had over the 24 years I have been in UiTM and over some 3 odd years I have at school. And what I have observed when I go to schools observing our trainee teachers. Poor is a teacher whose students do not pass them. Over and over again, we play at the back of my mind when I observe how people teach. So in this point, ladies and gentlemen, let's unravel the concept of teaching and thinking. They are both art and science in thinking. So T equals T, Prof. Majid. Playing with equation and I have a master's in cooking. T equals T, simply put, thinking equals teaching. Teaching equals thinking. So how is that related? Hold your horses. Slowly we are going there. Thinking is playing with preposition here. Thinking is central to teaching. Thinking is central in teaching. And that brings me to my second formula, or the model also, I am T squared. I am T squared. I'm a teacher. I'm a thinker. So from this point onwards, allow me to unravel the art and science of thinking. Shall we? Second part. Thinking. Okay, who doesn't know Dewey? All right, over and over again we see Dewey, because he's that one of those important figures, or rather literature documenting, describing, defining what thinking is. To Dewey said, thinking is an active, persistent and careful consideration of any belief or supposed form of knowledge, I repeat, belief or supposed form of knowledge, in the light of the ground that supports it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the light of the ground. One notion, when presented to a group of students, will be interpreted differently when you present it to a different group of students because of the context and how you brought that notion to their attention. And that is the beauty of us as cikgu, the teachers, the hikmah, the wisdom, where we put that in the right place. That is why I believe 21st century IoT, IR 4.0, be it whatever coming, teachers, no one can replace. And the further conclusion to which it intends. How do we conclude? How do we interpret the new knowledge? So the science of thinking, ladies and gentlemen, from Johnson and Siegel, also another famous reference when we talk about science of thinking, is about distinguishing facts from opinion. It's about observation. It's about checking the reliability of evidence. It's not just surface value. It's not just believing the first time you've heard it. It's also about being systematic. And of course, this illustration, this figure, I got it from the internet, is talking about our whole brain model. The left and the right, the cerebral and the limbic. I don't have to go on and on about this, you know better than I do actually. So, but what we know here is that there is left brain dominant and right brain dominant. But it does not mean that we cannot make our students move from left to right, right to left. In thinking, by questioning, by making them question, by making them try to find the answers to the possible answers to the question. There are tasks that require cerebral. There are tasks that require limbic, left or right, respectively. But do we know what do we give our students so that they are actually applying which brain dominant, which part of the brain that dominant in fulfilling the task? So the idea here is, ladies and gentlemen, the how that I questioned all of us, including me just now, is that do we vary, do we diversify our materials? Do we diversify our activities? Do we diversify the tasks and how we gauge our students' performance through assessments that we give to our students? Had we only been going at the cerebral left, logical, analytical, fact-based, quantitative, did we actually miss checking on interpersonal, feeling-based, kinesthetic, and emotional? So how are we to produce a whole person when we are inclined towards, the input and the process and how we gauge our students' performance is just via cerebral left, as an example. Okay, moving on. I'm not going to touch on thinking for too long because I think I'm not the expert in thinking. There are more experts in thinking. But what I'm going to do with you today is to actually relate, how do we position thinking in teaching so that that first formula that I had just now, T equals T equals T. All right, a very quick search on the internet if you want to know what does central to refers to. Yeah, I got it for the purpose of everybody's consumption. Anything central is in the middle of something or essential to it. Central things are fundamental and important. Think about the center of a circle. It's right in the middle, equidistant from all sides. Similarly, anything central is in the middle of something. This is what thinking is when we talk about teaching. So to my mind, which I'm going to share with you, the first model, it's teacher focus. Thinking is teaching when it is focused on the teachers. What do the teachers do? If the teachers do not think, the teachers do not teach. In this instance, I'm talking about teachers as reflective practitioners. What do we mean by reflective practitioners? Aha, another name, COPE. If you are familiar with action research, if you're familiar with professional development or continuous professional development, if you've been reading on this, yeah, the name COPE is of not a stranger. This is how we learn. It's cyclical. And we never cease learning because there's always something new coming to us. In fact, we may alter what we thought we knew when we got a new input. So it's from the concrete experience through observing and reflecting that could make us form new abstract concepts. That make us change what we thought we knew. Even the values, it's not just about the cognition, it's also affective. The values, how we appreciate things, how we value things, how we perceive things, and also psychomotor, yeah? And then we test it in new situations because we want to know, is it right? Hypothetically, you want to know whether you're on the right track. So COPE talks about what learning is by referring to the learning cycle model, way back in 1984. And Wallace's model, another beautiful one, Dr. Su, who did PhD with me, yeah? She actually, one of the models that she referred to in her PhD was actually Wallace's model. Wallace's reflective practice model of professional education. It's not just about novice, it's not just being expert. Even though you are an expert, you are always a learner. So in this instance, the model is actually talking about how life is cyclical, even more for a teacher. So here we're talking about how we reflect, how we question, how we make decisions, whether what improvement should we do? What changes, what transformation, what innovation, what new ideas should we bring into our class? And of course, from Shavelson, another important person in education and teaching, according to Shavelson, any teaching act is the result of a decision, either conscious or unconscious. You come prepared on Monday and you know you've got 3 classes on that day, and at the back of your mind you're playing, you're imagining, you're envisioning how your classes would be like. So that is you making a conscious decision. And you enter your class and you started teaching and you talk and you show your PowerPoint, you bring the students to the link of the YouTube, you ask your students to surf certain website, or you encourage them to go and check information, and later you want them to put it in a portfolio so that they can compare and contrast later, so that it's a community where they learn from each other. So you plan that. It's over and over again is an idea, because I'm a teacher who engage my students. So you have those kind of activities. It's not centered on you. You're not the sage on the stage. You are the aid by the side. You are the guide by the side. That is what you believe in, for example. So you plan student activities, which is engaging. It's about student empowered and students deciding what to go, what to look for, and what to do with what they have discovered, for example. Then you come into class, things happen. What you plan may not be able to be conducted because something happened, constraint you could never thought of, and then you make decisions again. And there are times when you make decisions which you are conscious of and you are unconscious of. The moment you say yes to a student asking you for something, even before you think about it, it's you making unconscious decision. So here is this wheel, not wheel of fortune, but this wheel is mechanical engineering, Prof. It's about teacher thinking, making teachers make a wise, informed decision, making the students learn. And at this point of time that I am relating to the first part of the equation, thinking is teaching. And then when we talk about teacher decision making, these are the areas. If you search the internet, all the areas where we talk about what are the research done on teachers thinking and competency areas, those 5 that you see up there. But what I want to bring your attention to is this one. Sit back, relax, and start thinking. When you teach, whether it's ODL, you have your laptop before you, you're talking to the flat screen, but your students are, all 40 of them are staring at you all at one go. And when you play, you share your screen, you get to see just a small part of your classroom, and the rest are actually your PowerPoint or whatever slides that you have prepared. So at that point of time, you have planned before the class started. But as you execute your class, you are implementing, and as you implement, you look for cues whether you need to make some changes. And then you'll be asking questions to gauge your students' understanding or acceptance, how they are processing the intake. You ask questions. The very idea of important is to ask questions. And the very idea of important is to allow your students to ask questions, to let the students share the platform with you. And at the end of the class, when you say bye-bye, you already recap your lesson and you've already prepared them, you prep them for the next class. You switch off, you evaluate, but not everybody evaluates their class. They will say, same, I will do the same thing again. Tomorrow I meet a different group. So it's sad to know that people, teachers in this instance, actually make decisions, planning decisions, make decisions, evaluating decisions when they were in the process, in the action of teaching. But many fail to make evaluating decisions. That is why we end up with same. And rightfully, Dr. Sherry, you mentioned it. I also have it here. Life as a teacher begins the day you realize that you are always a learner. You are never an expert, never claim that you are an expert. There will always be something new that you learn. Be as tiny as one can be, but you still learn. So, first half of the equation states, you are only a teacher when you are a learner. How are you a learner? Because you are a reflective practitioner. Why are you a reflective practitioner? Because you always question planning, interactive, and evaluative decision making. Okay, that's the first half of the equation. Thinking is central to teaching. Teachers are lifelong and life-wide learners. Especially in the 21st century, you're having Generation Z coming your way. We are having millennials now, but Z is coming our way. My children are Generation Z. They're already testing me with a lot of things which I had to change some approaches to suit the era. Even in Islam also says that train and nurture your children according to their time. Not during my time. I'm an X generation. Different generation than my children now. And the challenges are different, but we need to accept those challenges and how do we actually entertain the learning needs of our children, our students. So in this instance, I just mentioned about reflecting in action while you are teaching and reflecting on action after you've done that the lesson is just ended, but you're about to go to another class. Because we always teach, right? We easily have one class or two classes, or three classes, or even four classes throughout the week. So in between classes, it may be the same code, it may be a different code, but the process is still the same. But it is said over and over again, my research have actually confirmed, not many lecturers actually do evaluative decision makings. They are comfortable with the planning decision, they are comfortable with they're comfortable during the class because they're predictable. And this is confirmed by the students. They say that I can guess what she's going to make us do today. And especially when they compare notes from their colleagues from they already have the PowerPoint slides and they can imagine what the lecturer will say. Imagine that happening to you. It's sad, isn't it? When the students say, actually, I don't have to attend what class you know, because they can learn more from the internet. So how are you going to compete with the internet when there's a vast of information where your students can reach out? So that is where your wisdom comes in. And how do you portray wisdom when you don't encourage teaching? Okay, more and more questions I'm posing to you guys, not for you to answer, but for you to think about it. Okay, moving on to the second half of the equation where thinking is central in teaching. Okay, what's the definition? Very, very quickly, referring to the internet. Central in refers to main, chief, principal, primary, leading, foremost, first, predominant, dominant. Subhanallah. There is such a thing, central to and central in thank God. Alhamdulillah. I thought I was just making it up, But that is what it means, central in. And how do I try to position central in when we talk about teaching? So here, teaching is literally thinking. And it is student focus. It begins with teacher focus. Now we complete the equation by focusing on the student. Students, no thinking, no learning. When you just give the handout to your students and you refer to the PowerPoint, you click here and there, you make jokes here and there, you insert humor here and there, your students laugh, they giggle, and the class ended, they walk out of the classroom. If I stop them, what did you learn today? Oh yeah, the joke, the lecturer shared the joke just now. They remember the jokes. But they didn't get the gist, the learning outcome, what you intended. It's sad. But should you focus on the students when they do the thinking, encourage them towards deep learning, inshallah, you are doing reflective teaching, just not reflective practitioner. And here we're talking about teaching. Reflective practitioner, you do thinking about what you are as a teacher, the content that you're going to bring, the activities that your students do. But when we talk about reflective teaching, you're thinking about the students. What do they do? I'm playing my part. What about the students? What part do they play? So in this instance, teaching equals to thinking, where we talk about. It's all about mental processes. It's actually how the students respond to our external stimuli, and it's actually the engine for learning. And the art of thinking is actually, you have heard about this over and over again. Actually, we know this. Cognition, metacognition, the cognition and credibility, trainable strategies for thinker teachers. Strategies are finite. It's not like lautan luas where it's infinite. It's finite. You know what are the cognitive strategies, you know what are the metacognitive strategies, you know what are the social affective strategies, you know that, and you know how to train that, and you know how to integrate that into your content as you deliver your lessons to your students. But sadly, we malas to think on how to integrate. I'm saying this with all due respect. I'm not saying you, I'm saying me too, because we are all human beings. But it's a good wake-up call to realize how important it is to actually make our students think, but we need to guide and facilitate that. And that brings me back to Big's model as well as my model system. And Richard talked about this here. Individuals create or construct their own new understanding or knowledge through the interaction of what they already know and believe, and the ideas, events, and activities with which they come in contact. I think it's clear-cut. Your students come to you not as empty vessels. They have their prior knowledge, they have their experiences, and believe me, they also have their perception, not just about the content, about you, perception of you. So how do you play with that? How do you maximize? How do you leverage on that? That's the creativity bit of you to consider on what things you can do, what ideas you can bring, what activities you can make your students engaged in, so that they actually interact with what they already know and what you are providing them with. And of course, I'm sure everybody here is a great fan of constructivism. From the constructivists, they claim, they say, which I strongly believe, learning activities are characterized by active engagement, including problem solving, blah, blah, blah. You could read that. But here, what I like to bring your attention to is the one that I have actually bold. Teachers need to assume the roles of a guide, facilitator, and co-explorer who encourages them to question, challenge, and formulate their own ideas. When we talk about deep learning, it's not about repeating what we have given them. I think we need to start questioning. At the end of our class, let's hear from our students, what have you learned and what are you going to do with what you have learned? And maybe when we do that, inshallah, you have just trained creative innovators, because they are going to apply the knowledge. Don't just quickly end your lesson by recapping, okay, what did we do today? These are the objectives. Okay, I've actually introduced to you and we discussed about this and you agree, you disagree, and you discuss blah, blah, blah. And you thought that, oh, that's critical thinking already. Let's also include the fact that, so what are we going to do now? How is it going to change our life? How is it going to make you come up? What are the things that you can change now that you know this? I don't know, although I know. To put that later, because you're the content subject expert, yes? Okay, so no, the one that I mentioned just now, Prof. Salamia. We do have Bloom's taxonomy, yeah, this one. You know this, I don't have to go through this. But basically, at the end, the pinnacle of the pyramid is to produce students who are creators, innovators. There's only one creator. The one Almighty is the only creator. But the idea of creating here is actually innovating. But when we talk about solo actually, sorry, if I may bring back to Bloom's taxonomy, while Bloom's taxonomy look at learning taxonomy, Solo actually looked at the person as the learner as an individual person. The person who actually pre-structural level where I see one idea, but I don't know what the idea is about. Unistructural, oh, I can define, identify, and we are happy when our students are able to repeat what we said or to memorize what we gave them. Multi-structural is that not just they are able to memorize, but they're able to combine several ideas together but still independent ideas combining the relational is when they're able to relate to outside the context, which you can be awed by your students. When the students are able to classify, they're able to apply, and they're able to tell you that storyline, and then you can believe, it's so believable because it's related. Because of the pre-structural, unistructural, multi-structural, it's showing the ability for the students to also relate. And finally, the highest level of solo is when the students are able to evaluate, theorize, that innovativeness, where the students can hypothesize and imagine. And this is when you will sit back and say, you are better than me now. Alhamdulillah, that's what I plan to do with you. Not to be me, but to be better than me. Or is it better than I? Probably marah. Okay, some figure to make it more relatable, yeah? Pre-structure is like this. Like for example, that child saying that I'm not sure about this subject. Okay, you're telling me, okay, I'm learning now, but I'm sure. Moving on, the student, now I know what you mean. I have this idea already, but just that one idea. But upper level is when I have several, because he's now making connection what he already knows. And making connection, trying to see a picture and trying to come up with a new picture, with a new storyline to it. And relational, where they say, this is related, blah, blah, blah. That they can sort of like apply originally, not apply following your template. Original application. And at the extended abstract level is when they can actually look at from a wider, higher perspective, where they can see things, and when they can, what do you call that, compare and contrast, and also make a better decision. So here, Bloom's taxonomy. Again, both are related, but I think for different purposes. Bloom's taxonomy is to classify learning ability, whereas solo is very much of describing the learner as the person as a learner, the student, yeah? Okay, so in this instance, I'm bringing your idea to the fact that thinking is central in teaching, because how do you do that? We talk about the art of questioning, the heart, deep learning. And this is when I claim in my equation and in my model, teachers apply reflective teaching. You are a reflective practitioner, but you're focusing on yourself. How are you going to teach? What are you going to teach? But you are also a thinking teacher when you also combine not just reflective practitioner, but you also apply reflective teaching. Okay, when we talk about thinker teachers and dialogic pedagogy, that's something which is not separable. They are meant to be together. It's like a match made in heaven. And when we talk about dialogic pedagogy, I can't but mention these names. Yeah? Frank Hartman. This is the big names that I know personally, who actually looks into dialogic pedagogy. So these are the names. Actually, Professor Frank Hartman, when I did my sabbatical in University of York in 2012, we actually explored about dialogic pedagogy. We looked into the classroom dynamic through interaction, not just student-student interaction, it's into teacher-student interaction and interaction outside of the classroom. And that is when we further confirm how dialogic pedagogy is a simple methodology that can train your students to become innovators, thinkers themselves. So here, thinker teachers, I'm coming to the, I'm coming down to the resolution here. Central to teaching, central in teaching is by virtue is what you see on the screen. Thinker teachers, many of us claim we are thinker teachers. You claim that here just now. Question yourself now. Be true to yourself. Be honest to yourself. Yeah. Because you are the only you, and I think the only person that you need to impress is yourself. Are you both doing this? Reflective practitioner and apply reflective teaching. So, thinker teachers wannabes, are there wannabes here? Thinking is actually central, both central to and central in teaching. So dialogic pedagogy, there's a chapter in my book, but I'm not going to deliberate on that chapter. If I deliberate on that chapter, it'll take another 1 hour. It was a study I conducted. You can find that in chapter 5, and findings are very interesting and confirm what I said earlier when I said, yeah, we do planning, decision-making, we do interactive decision-making, but we hardly do evaluative decision-making. It was confirmed, number one. Number two, we claim we are student-centered, we claim we engage our students, but the questions that we ask our students are actually the lower order questions. We don't really ask questions that If Socrates have 6 types of questions. The lower order is the first 3, the higher order is the second 3. So questions on questions is the highest order. Why do you think I asked you that question? Wow, and probing evidence and reasons, that is also the higher order thinking. So Socrates types of questions. So these are the questions which are hardly marked amongst the respondents. The kind of questions they ask tend to be, do you understand? Can you explain that again? How do we apply this? That's just the highest. How do we apply this? But extending it to the second higher order of thinking, not much have been observed from that research. And also when I read of late, the research conducted of late, I noticed similar trend. So I suppose we are still stuck there. I don't know. I'm not saying you, I'm also saying me, because sometimes when I teach, I also, at the end of it, when I evaluate my own class, I said, Alamak, I don't think I've given my best. I have to admit, I don't think I've given my best. I don't think I've actually made my students explore this motion, because it takes a lot of effort, walaupun tak ada muscle, it's just the brain thinking, right? It's more tiring to do the laundry, right, than ironing. But then the thinking bit, you don't have to move. You just sit there and think. But that's the most difficult thing to do. Not you, me. I'm talking me here. Okay, so this is also Isaac, another name when we talk about pedagogy. This is what is said. You can read that. It also is in the book. It's talking about improved collective inquiry processes where we actually learn from each other. And at this point of time, I think I must mention this to you. Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats. All the colors, the white, the black, the green, the yellow, the red, and what is the other color that I missed? All that. If we do role play, I would like to imagine or to suggest that we do this. Okay, today everybody wears white hat because we want to be neutral. Let's be objective and see things from different. We are not judging, just explore. But then, okay, one group you wear the black hat. Why are you the black hat? Because you need to be the devil's advocate. You need to caution us. You need to look at the things that we might lose, might lose in focus. So you're going to keep us in track. One day. Another day, maybe, okay, let's have one yellow hat group and one red hat group, for example. Hold on. And you play by that role playing. Then I suppose your class will be more, in a way, lively because you're making them think without them realizing that they are thinking. They thought they're just role playing. Okay, so to continue dialogic pedagogy is actually an alternative pedagogy which encourages active and engaging participation. And why are we doing this? It's for meaningful dialogues to promote CCTS, not CCTV. What is CCTS? I've got another book to give away. What is CCTS? This is easy. Come on. Thank you, Dr. Sharina. That did you well. Great. Critical, creative thinking skill. All right, so Dr. Sharina deserves a book. Prof. Salamia, one book. Dr. Sharina, another book. Yeah, Disha, you help me remember the recipient of the books. Okay, I've got 4 books actually, so I'm going to keep the 2 books for more in the future. Okay, so this is just a simple, description, the differences between dialogical teaching and traditional teaching, which you actually can get from the book. What I want to show to you is actually this. It's actually taken from the internet, from Didactic. If you go to the webpage of Didactic, it has this monological and the dialogical teaching. What I like to bring your attention to is, let's look at this one, yeah? Okay, when you use all these gadgets, we have experts in technology and education, which I have much respect for. We're talking about how do we complement our teaching. One of it is via the use of technology in class. Okay, you have all these podcasts, article databases, testing tools, you do Kahoot, Padlet, all that thing, to engage, to make students engage. But if the questions or the tasks that you make your students do are not really to the higher order thinking, it's actually still monological. And frankly speaking, I think Kahoot, you've got the colors and the bars going up and down, and students excited, but it is not dialogical, right? It is still monological. But when we talk about dialogical, I'm bringing you guys to this concept, technology. I'm trying to integrate technology. I'm not just saying I'm a traditional lecturer who's just like doing PowerPoint and me talking, human touch, but also have technology touch. These are the things that we can do with our students. We've got curation tools, we've got note tools, data collecting tools, and online forums. And we can start building portfolios where the students can start uploading their research, what they read, and then And then you can ask the students to mind map, to sort of like summarize what the content of that article that they just researched on for the consumption of the other friends. And that portfolio is actually shared on that platform where you got with your students. Now that we're doing ODL, I'm sure everybody's not familiar with having your own blog where you can create folders and then you can make your students put something. But of course, Dr. Anna might be looking at maybe a youth future where you can have that content. If you look, there's a tab on content and you can play around with it. You can include as many folders in the content of your subject in you future. The master is there. Then Dr. Anna says, yeah, good, use the content, use you future, because that is how you have the dialogical. And how is that? Because you make the students collaborate and communicate. Although not face-to-face, via online, where they comment their friends' portfolio, for example, and you come in to also give your 2 cents. Okay, takeaways for Think the Teacher Wannabes. Actually, I've got a chapter dedicated to this, where I have some what to do for planning, what to do during interactive, and what to do for evaluative decision making. That would be for the takeaways. I have that. But basically, I would like to say that thinking is central to teaching. I'm coming to my closure here. Thinking is central to teaching. It's the professional routine of every reflective practitioner. Do not call yourself a reflective practitioner when you don't have a lot of decision making that you are conscious about, especially on the conscious bit, because you need to make decisions, informed decisions. Thinking is central in teaching when you actually apply the art of questioning when engage with your students. It's easy to ask questions, but we tend to ask the lower order questions rather than the higher order questions. Be creative on that bit. And thinker teachers, you are both. You are both the reflective practitioner as much as you are the reflective, applying the reflective teaching. Thus, the first order of business, ladies and gentlemen. Remember earlier on, I started with the what, the why, and the how. That why is very, very important, and that brings light to how you're going to do it. Fill yourself first with the soul of teaching. Crystal clear of what and why before you could give the best in the how. And simply put, you need to love teaching, be passionate and compassionate. And one of my taglines is, do what you love what you do. You have signed that Moral Aku Janji when you agreed to be appointed as a lecturer here in UiTM. So do what you love. I assume that is what you love doing, teaching, and love what you do. So the T equals T model, ladies and gentlemen, very simple, very kacang. You can see that over here. I focus on the teachers first. Thinking, central to teaching, focus on the teachers, teachers do the thinking. Teaching equals to thinking, focus on the students, when the students do the thinking. So the center, the heart, but you want the love here. The heart is teaching. Teachers think, teaching. Students think, and that's what you're doing in teaching. And the anti-squared model, well, I just explain and explore and deliberate on these ideas with you, ladies and gentlemen. It's because of this. Teachers, you are only a teacher the moment you realize you're always a learner. We are lifelong learner. We are life-wide learner. Teachers are decision makers, and thinking is fundamental. It's essential to teaching. And here, students, thinking is to the students. This is the support. Kita sikit narrative nya. This is the support, the pillar. And this is why. Why is it why? Because we're talking about multidiscipline, multitask. At this point of time, iCEPS is about offering Bachelor of General Studies, where we are producing T-shaped graduates. T-shaped, betul kan? T-shaped proposition. Why is it T-shaped? Because this is there, but more concerned of the breadth. They are multi-talented. They are resourceful. So here, kebetulan Allah memudahkan kerja saya buat saya. I realize General Studies, Liberal Arts Studies kind is actually producing T-shaped learners, E-shaped learners, T-shaped learners. If you do the reading, you will realize there are T-shaped learners, there are E-shaped learners, L-shaped learners, but here we are producing T-shaped learners. And what is this? What does it mean? Central in teaching, where all the active versus deep learning, student empowerment, teacher decision making, and Socratic questioning and thinking is actually the main dominant strategy in teaching. And bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, please teach thinking. If you don't, actually you haven't thought at all. All right? And you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can, inshallah, start where you are and change the ending. And speaking of beginning, I have this to share. My mom. I wish she's actually here, but she's 93 years old. She suffered dementia since the last 10 years, and of late, since last year, she had that stroke, made her even more handicapped. She has lost memory and she has lost ideas of things. She doesn't know me, she doesn't know whether she's hungry, whether she's thirsty. This is my mom, she's beautiful. Ma, you are my beginning and my very reason for being. The first teacher who taught me lessons from a humble beginning. It is you who showed me great love and passion in nurturing. How I wish there you are, Ma, sitting amongst them, listening, looking at me, talking and rambling, like what I'm doing now, as here I am standing. Ma, you are always that light shining each time I turn for guidance in my day passing. And for that, Ma, I love you till my last second breathing. Ma. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, I remain humbly as a learner and a thinker always, inshallah. Thank you very much.
As usual, Prof, listening to your user experience. Please remain standing on stage, Prof, for question and answer session. And due to the time limitation, we can only welcome one question from the hall and one question from the online platform. I have a question while you are thinking of what to ask from Faizah. I have a question here from the online platform. A question from Aisha Muhammad Noor. She asked, what are the challenges in teaching thinking, Prof?
The first challenge is for the teachers to also do thinking in the first place. Because I said, if you remember earlier, I mentioned about it's difficult to do ironing. I'm a housewife at the same time, mother, you have to iron clothes and it's sweaty and stuff. You have to move your limbs and then it's hard to do ironing, for example. But actually, sitting down, thinking is harder. So especially for a teacher, the first challenge is actually with himself or herself. Whether you are a thinker teacher, that is the first challenge. And that challenge is because of another challenge, which is whether you love what you do in the first place. Because when we talk about teaching, it's actually thinking. And thinking is not just you as a teacher, but also for the students. How do you actually guide and facilitate the students' thinking? And that is the challenge, actually, if I have answered that question. Yeah?
Thank you, Prof. I welcome one more question from all.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mustafa from the Faculty of Education. Since I'm a graduate teachers, I'm teaching art and design. My background is art and design also. And now I'm teaching the design in Faculty of Education. And as creative teachers, we can consider as creative. Consider as a thinker teachers because we are always teaching the students to have the creative thinking, to create something new, to design.
Okay, it's actually a comment, right, Fadili? Fadili, it's actually a comment, right? You're claiming that art and design teachers actually creative teachers, yeah, by default. Yeah. Can I counter comment? Thinking, God. my counter comment is this. Yes, it's easy to quickly claim that you are creative teachers simply because by default you are in that realm. It's in the subject. It's by default. But the very idea of a thinker teacher does not actually depend on the subject. If you are a thinker teacher, regardless, even a mathematics department, and you could have thinker teachers, but not logical thinking only. Remember the 4 quadrants of the brain when we talk about, or even let's just go with the hats, colors. Put on a red hat, not red shoes and dance. Put on the red hat and start putting emotion, putting feelings. So wait, what does this number give us? Let's talk about us as a human being. Let's talk about us in our family. What does this number tell us? What does this equation tell us? So putting emotion. Or maybe you talk a blue hat. There's this equation in math, creative teachers. Put on a blue hat. The question that you ask, okay, blue is for penny. Penny, the ending, sorry, the beginning and the ending and the process that goes through. Okay, with this equation, what do you think we can come up with a plan? What plan can we derive out of this? That's a blue hat. If it's a yellow hat, then maybe you ask the students, let's be fresh with ideas. Let's open to ideas. It's positive optimism versus the black hat, which is negative logical. This is a positive logical. What new things can we do? Be creative, coming up with ideas. That's the yellow hat. Okay. So what I'm trying to say, yes, by default, it's easy for art, design lecturers, teachers to be creative. But I challenge you, are you really, if you are only destined to teach your students simple, and you don't actually challenge them via that kind of questionings. Recall the 6 colors, hats, the 6 hats, and maybe you can start wondering, am I really a thinking teacher? Just because I teach. Okay? So finally, you have a book coming away. Aisha, if you're listening, Aisha, wherever you are, you can email me and I can post you the book. Inshallah. All right?
Thank you very much, Prof. I think that's it. That is the end of our question and answer session. And Prof, please remain on stage. Thank you very much, Prof. Faizah, for encapsulating us the true meaning of teaching and thinking via the coined phrases. Thinking is central to teaching and thinking is central in teaching. Right, so let's give Prof a big round of applause for sharing with us in an inspiring lecture.
Good job.